Hey everybody, it's Carolyn from the Scrapbook School. Welcome to the final episode of the Loving My Story 14-day challenge wrap up. This event is where we're going to talk about what we learned during the challenge, what we liked during the challenge, what we wish we could change during the challenge, and what to do now that the challenge is over. Do you continue along with your creative journaling journey, or do you do something else? And I'm going to share what I'm going to do after this, which I think you might find quite interesting. But first, just checking in terms of the challenge. How has it been for you? Well, for me, it's been interesting. I realized that I don't like challenges. I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but when I first started this project, it was, hey, I'm trying something different, and if I set this up as a challenge, then maybe I will follow through with it. And I did follow through with it, mostly because I had an obligation to you guys to, show you how I was interpreting the prompts and give you the daily messages to encourage you to work on your projects and things. But I also realized that the idea of the word challenge itself implies struggle. And I did hear from a couple of you during the challenge that it was kind of hard to keep up with it because I think you felt like obligated that you had to do it every day, which you really didn't have to, but if somebody's sending you daily prompts, then you kind of feel like, oh, I'm supposed to do this every day. And then if you aren't able to get to it, then you feel guilty, and then you just kind of quit altogether. So, if I didn't have a daily, if I was a participant in the whole challenge like you guys were, I might feel, just going to adjust my camera here. I might feel the same way where it's like, because what's the other challenge? There's a 100-day project challenge that I've participated in before, and I was supposed to make a travel scrapbook album, and you can find that video on my channel. It's a couple of years old, and I never finished that album and never finished the challenge. I think it's because when it and I hate to use that term, but when it drags out, when it takes place over a long period of time, I think it gets overwhelming for people. So that's one thing I learned, is that I don't like challenges, and I probably won't do another challenge with you guys, at least not over the course of 10 days or 14 days. One of the other things I learned is that I really appreciate being able to make pages without feeling like I have to follow some sort of rule book or structure. And I think that the prompts help with that. So let me explain what I mean. So when I would make a page, I would go pretty quickly. I would look at the prompt. I'd figure out, like, how do I want to express myself with this particular prompt, and then I would go through my stash and find things, or I'd go onto Cricut and say, what lettering or die cut image or whatever have you do I want to cut out, and I would just make my page and go really fast. And then a lot of times I was also more likely to experiment with different things that either I found in my stash or like different products that I had on hand that I never used, or rarely used. So like the gelatos, I used that years ago, but I haven't touched it. And so it was nice to use that. The Ranger spray inks, I kind of used that in the past year, so maybe that doesn't count. But stamping, I kind of played around with stamps. I don't think they showed up in any of my pages here, but I had an idea to use a stamp, so I hadn't stamped in a while, so just experimentation. So I think just free form creating and experimentation is another positive that came out of the challenge. The other thing I realized is that I actually like the prompts. using the prompts really helps me. I think in terms of what scrapbookers get with blank page syndrome is because they don't really know how to really start the page. And so I think with the prompts, the journaling prompts, that actually helps you kind of think about some things. And if you want to add your photos from your phone, it's like going through, funny story. Oh, yeah, I remember something funny. I took a picture of it, and now I can actually make a creative page about it. So those were the big things that for me I thought were really cool in terms of what I learned through this process. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you my finished pages. So I think when we last met, I was, I think we were like the midweek challenge. I hadn't finished all my pages just yet, so sorry for the crinkling. I hadn't finished all of mine. Let me adjust my camera for a second. There we go. I hadn't finished all of the pages, so at this point, everything is done. Zoom out, there we go. So where we left off, I think, was prompt number 7, and it was this one, the boss lady one. So this one had to do, let me look at my table of contents here. This one was a photo that brings you joy. So this one I did about crabs, because I live in the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And I grew up in Maryland. And when you grow up in Maryland, crabs is the thing. When you're 3 years old, they give you a cup of the Miller High Life and a crab and say, go for it. And so that's your induction into crab eating. And so I have been a fan of crabs. And every summer, there's a crab truck that comes around where I live. And when it comes around, I make sure that I get crabs. And so that is what this layout is about. And this is like a bushel of crabs with some Old Bay seasoning, because Old Bay makes everything better. And this photo brings me joy, because even just now looking at it, I'm thinking, ooh, I cannot wait till summer comes so I can get my crabs. And so a lot of these are just like pre-made die cuts. This was some lettering that I found in my stash from Close to My Heart. This was a pocket page journaling spot, and then this is a sticker that I got from a sticker book. And then I had this crab background page, which I've had in my stash for years and never used. So what better time to use it than with this particular layout? And then the next prompt was a favorite meal or treat you love. So we're continuing with the food theme. And I am a big fan of Starbucks Frappuccinos. I love them. And the other day I got, there's a new flavor. I think it was chocolate strawberry with cream. And yeah, oof, I love Frappuccinos. So I decided to take a picture, because I remember this prompt was coming up, and I thought this would be a really perfect photo to take for that particular prompt. Again, I'm using some lettering from Close to My Heart that I actually colored in with a marker to kind of give you that coffee look. I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of, there's like a gradient thing going on there. And this is actually, this little blue part is the top of like a little piece of, like a little paper pad I had in my stash. So I just cut that out and put it on top of a journaling spot, and just some additional stickers and things like that. So that's that page. This one was A Simple Joy from Your Day. So this is where I get to nerd out a little bit. I love playing The Sims. It's something that I started playing like 3 years ago. And I call them my pixel people. So I just like the idea of building little communities and little stories with people and like their families. I know it's completely corny, but it's a fun game and I can get immersed on it for like if I have a stressful day. It's like, you know what, I just feel like decorating a house in The Sims, and so that's what I'll do. Now I wanted to use pictures, and you see that the size of this page, I think it's 6 by 10, so, and I'm using 4 by 6 photos, so they're really hard to fit on the page. So I decided to use these flip flaps from Close to My Heart, where you can add additional pictures. So you get a little interactivity here. So I use a journaling spot here to kind of write about, like, you know, why I like playing The Sims and how I got hooked on them, and then just an additional paper. So this part is the flip flap with the picture and the journaling, and then I actually glued the photo to the bottom of this page. So you get something like that. And the next prompt was something you've learned recently. Oh no, I'm sorry. A love letter to your future self. So let's go back here. So in my folio here that I've made, I added a pocket, and in this pocket is the love letter to myself. So this particular prompt landed on Valentine's Day, so it was appropriate. And I made the envelope in with Cricut and used some repositionable Hermafix adhesive so I could open it up. I'm supposed to read this a year from now, and then use double-sided pattern paper and some dot bullet journaling paper, and ran it through Cricut, and then to create the envelope, this envelope, and then this insert, wrote my letter, and then added some stickers and folded it up, added a sticker to the back, and it goes right in that pocket. And then I have a little sticker to indicate there's a letter there. So that was that prompt. The next prompt after that was this one. So this is something you've learned recently, and the title of this page is Busy Doing Nothing. So learn that as a person who's a busybody and does a lot of work, and lately I've been, you know, trying to build up the scrapbook school business and do different things than I have in the past, and really kind of make up for ground that I lost last year. So for 2025, I have all these things, and it's just a lot. And so I've discovered the power of or rediscovered really, the power of doing nothing, and putting my type anus, A-NESS, on hold for these moments. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I was doing this whole journaling thing, is just to get myself to slow down and be more mindful and appreciate things a little bit better than I have been. So the whole point of busy doing nothing, when I'm in the nothingness, it gives me time to do that kind of reflection and get mental rest. And then finally, reflections on this challenge. So I actually put this little insert in because I didn't have enough pages for the entire journal using this folio scrapbook that I made. So I actually washi taped in an insert, and on this page I provided badges. So if you've been using the badges as part of the challenge, as you complete a page, you can celebrate by putting a badge in and dating when you completed the page. So these are all the badges for all the pages that I did. And then here's the final reflection, which is, things that I learned as I went through this challenge, which I already kind of told you at the beginning of the live. The biggest thing is I'm not really concerned with design rules and making things coordinate. I'm not going for perfection. I just go with the flow. And so that's the thing that I probably really enjoyed the most. And I just made sure to include a picture of myself that I had taken recently in my Lenny Kravitz t-shirt. He's excellent in concert, by the way. And did the journaling on Google Docs, printed it out, and then cut it to size so that it would fit in here. And then I did some hand lettering of stay tuned, because we'll be continuing with the creative journaling journey, just not doing the challenges. So that is my book, my story so far. And I really like how my book came out. I was very surprised at what I was able to create, and I had fun. I really did. I hope you guys had fun too. Moving forward, what is next? So I wanted to give you a couple of tips on things you can do to keep everything going. I would say a couple of tips is that if you're into this kind of journaling but you get stuck with ideas, prompts are the way to go. There are plenty of books out there with journaling prompts for like writing, but I think you can apply that to creative journaling or even scrapbooking. I mean, you can use a prompt in a scrapbook. If you wanted to make a traditional 12 by 12 scrapbook page with a prompt, you certainly could do that. So that's an idea. In terms of making this a habit, I think the last time I mentioned that the biggest thing is don't make it a have to, or you won't do it. I think that it's just like a mental thing. It's just like if you call something a challenge, people won't do it because it's a challenge. And challenge for some people has a negative connotation. So if you make this an obligation, you will not do it. If you make it a have to, you won't do it. If you make it I want to do it because I want to find joy and delight, then you will make time. And so I would say don't spend more than an hour. I would not try to do a bunch of pages at one time unless you feel inclined to do so. I would do one idea, express yourself on the page, and be done. It should not take you very long. The other thing I like is that books like you can see, let me hold up. Books like this, which is, like I said, 6 by 10, or using like a Moleskine book that's like 5 by 8 or something like that. I think with the smaller books, you tend to not feel as intimidated by the page, and so you can fill up the page more quickly and more easily. So that's another tip. But yeah, I would spend like whenever your downtime is, whenever you feel like you want to relax, get yourself a nice little cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever, wind down at the end of the day. If you have something on your mind and you want to get it off your chest, that's perfect time. And just spend like 30 minutes to an hour writing or scribbling, drawing, doodling, whatever you want to do. And if that's on the weekend, if it's at 11 o'clock at night, if it's at 6 in the morning, it doesn't really matter. But again, don't make it an obligation or you won't do it. Make it I feel the need to express myself. I feel the need to take some time to come down and enjoy myself, my me time, and take advantage of it. Because, there's nothing wrong with self-care. Nothing wrong at all. It is not selfish to participate in self-care. The old adage about you got to put your oxygen mask on first or you won't be able to help other people. It's the same thing. If you don't feed yourself first, if you don't take care of yourself, you will not be able to feed anyone else. You will not be able to support anyone else. I speak from personal experience where your tank is empty. So you have to find time to reconnect with yourself and nurture your well-being, because it really will take you far. And this is just one way to do it. And this is how I'm doing it. So is through journaling journey, as it were. And so, if you want to come along on this journey with me, because here's the thing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea. I'm calling it creative journaling because I don't know what else to call it. I don't really want to call it scrapbooking or scrapbooking extended, or I don't know. I don't like to use a label per se on this. So I'm just exploring, and that leads me into what comes next for me in terms of all of this stuff. So I am going on what I'm calling the creative journaling experiment. Again, we're just calling it creative journaling for now because I can't think of anything else to call it. So it's the Great Creative Journaling Experiment, and we'll be all throughout March. I'm going to be, and actually starting at the very end of this month too, I'm going to be looking at the difference between scrapbooking and journaling. Is there a difference? Is it the same thing? Is it just a new name for the same thing we've all been doing for years? Who knows? Let's find out. The other thing is there's all different styles. I think I mentioned to you before. There's junk journaling, memory journaling, scrapbooking, smash journaling, bullet journaling, and commonplace books. You can make reading journals. You can do everything, right? So I'm going to be exploring the different types of journals that are out there, because maybe I might want to try one of those, or maybe I want to do a mashup of things. So that's part of the experiment. And then I'm going to explore also, as we're going through this process, like what's working for me, what's not working, what do I want to change, how do I want to do this moving forward. So stay tuned for the very end of February leading into all of March of this great experiment of trying to figure out like the whole creative journaling jazz, Rooney, whatever. And also let me know in the comments, what would you like to see? What would you like to learn? What are your burning questions? What would you like me to experiment with? Is there something that you have a burning question about and you're like, I've always wondered that, and what do you think about it? So I'm curious to hear your thoughts and get your input and feedback on all of this as we go along, because I think it's interesting. I'm just in the mood to try new things. I've been in a rut, so I want to kind of push the boundaries and the limits of what's out there. And I'm looking at my notes to see if there's anything else. I think that was it. So again, what's your biggest challenge with creative journaling? What did you get out of the challenge, if anything, if you were even able to participate? Because I said, I'm not doing any more challenges. I don't think so. I think they're good for some people. They don't work for me. They may not work for you either, but I'm not going to do it. And it's a lot of work to put one together, let me tell you. All right, so I'm going to go watch the Saturday Night Live. I didn't even know it was on tonight, but I'm going to watch the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary. And I'll let you do that. Please stay safe. The weather is crazy this week. It is winter, but we're getting a wompity womp womped this week. So please stay safe and warm as best as you can. And I will see you probably. Oh, yeah, I'm probably going to do another live. But this time I'm going to go back to my normal schedule, which is like Thursdays. But that won't be until March. So I'm going to do these experiments first. Then I'm going to do a live so we can talk about all the crazy things that I think I'm going to be doing. and then we'll go from there. So I will see you soon. Take care. Have a great week, everybody. Good night.